Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to BingetownTV's coverage of Amazon's The Wheel of Time. This is our deep dive into episode 6, titled The Flame of Tar Valon. Valon. I actually had, okay.
You were giving yourself props in the last episode for getting it down. And
yeah, I've listened to so much New Spring since then. I finished New Spring.
So you're back on the Tar Valon.
I was tainted a little bit, and I'll dive into the Great Hunt next, and it'll just be a mess probably forever. But like I said, deep dive episode. We'll get into breaking down a lot of the scenes more deeply than we did on the instant reaction. There's a lot of conversations that are had, foreshadowing, nice lines. I know Paul was writing down some dialogue lines. I have a lot written down too, so we can talk about all of them.
And we get a PSS this episode.
We do. Spoilers.
Oh
shit, that's very true. So I guess just to start us off the same way that the episode itself starts off, we have a flashback to Tyr and a young Siuan Sanche and her one-handed father.
Dude, okay. You listeners out there, I'm watching with them. This is my third watch through. This is at least Luke, Kyle, and Dave's at least second, probably third.
No, this is my second.
Maybe fourth for Kyle. We're watching. We get to the end of this opening scene, and Kyle's like, "Oh my god, I just realized he has one hand." I was like, what? That was the whole point of Siuan using magic to help him get rid of the knot in the nets. And like,
I thought she was using it to make the fish more plentiful. That's what I originally thought.
My God.
I was like, why is she channeling? Like,
we were all over the place then.
oh man, you guys, I was cracking up. I wish you guys had recording of me laughing in their faces.
It's funny too because it just is so obvious once you notice it.
It's so obvious.
I was just staring at his nub the whole time.
My first watch through, I was taking notes, and I was more so like looking at his face, so I wasn't like fully looking. And so when Kyle said that, I was like, "Holy shit, you're so right!" I was so shocked.
Dave was looking at his ass, but they did have like a really cool line of father waking her up on the hammock, and then they're back and forth of like, "Oh, are the fish biting?" It's like, they're kissing the surface. Better go catch him before some other bastard does. I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's go, Siuan."
The child actress, don't know what her name is at the moment, but she was great. I thought she was like very believable. Sometimes children, I'm just amazed at when young kids can act well, and she definitely did that.
I don't know if that was a real tear. I swear they probably were like, cut, and then come in with a tear, like little dropper. And then just put one on her cheek, and then like, all right, action.
She slayed it from a magic perspective because I think it's just the fact that she could channel that well, and she seems self-taught, right? Like she hasn't been in Tar Valon yet. Like Egwene and Nynaeve never got even close to that point, so that just shows like how she became the Amyrlin seed. I guess her potential was so good so early. But yeah, Tyr was awesome. I thought it was such a good landscape. It felt so unique compared to any other shot. You guys will find out. Like on the map, it's like super far south. Kind of felt Amazonian-ish, right? Like sitting in the water like that. And then the cool backdrop of the castle, Stone of Tyr, I think. We're not sure about that yet, but is it confirmed that is?
I feel like it has to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's confirmed from an official like Amazon source, but there's no way it's not.
Either way, I like the whole environment of what Tyr's got going on.
I love how Siuan has her own theme song too. Like they have this
so
whole
good.
It sounds like, I don't know, like there's a lot of vocal sounds in the background, but she has her own theme. It comes out at least 3 times when she's like the main subject, and it's phenomenal.
The one comment I want to make is on her tattoos, because we do see them originally when she's younger, and then also later in the episode we find out that she's added some more to her collection. So I don't know what the representation of those will be. We'll maybe see. And I do want her father to come back into the story. We know he's not dead. I assume he's not dead, so I would like to see him come back because I thought he did a really good job acting.
Could probably be dead. I would bet my money that
he could be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I would like that would be a nice reunion, I feel like, for Siuan.
But I agree.
Siuan,
I do agree.
I was gonna say Siuan now.
I do agree that the tattoos, I want to know their significance, because it was a big identifier to, like, her sitting in the Amyrlin seat in the next scene. But at the same time, like you said, she's getting additional ones. So is it just, willy-nilly, I feel like, a new tattoo, or is there significance behind them? To continue, we get back to the fisherman hut after they were going out and setting the nets, and completely burnt down. And we get the symbol painted on their board. Just, it looked like a red comma but it was also the symbol that we got in episode 1 of all the sheep that the Trollocs supposedly like slaughtered and ate with that land found as he was scouting.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was the same shape, but I'm curious to what it meant because Kyle specifically wanted to skip over that scene of episode 1, and this is, it's rearing its head again. I assume it's I want to say the dark one just because it was a Trollocs, but at the same time, why would they burn the hut down and not, stay around and kill her?
I don't think it's common knowledge of what that is yet, right?
No, but I don't know how much it matters to, I guess, quote unquote, spoil it.
Yeah, I think it actually might be better if we contextualize it.
Okay, that's fine with me. Yeah. So the mark itself is called the Dragon's Fang. It is like one half of essentially a yin and yang symbol. So
it's like a comma.
Yeah, exactly. The yin and yang is kind of just like the representation of the male and female halves of the one power. Then it became a symbol for the Aes Sedai. And then the male half is the black half. And then that symbol, because all the men that channel go crazy, has now, over the thousands of years, become this symbol of the dark one. So people will brand people's houses, will mark their houses with the Dragon's Fang when they think that they're dark friends. So he, as in her dad, has a quote that says, he basically is sending her to the White Tower, and he says, "When it's safe in Tyr for girls like you." Mm-hmm. So it's book canon that the kingdom country of Tyr is notoriously anti-channelers. They don't fuck with Aes Sedai. They don't like them at all. So that's why they acted so harshly when they know that Siuan could channel. That's why they burn their house down. And then they mark it to be like, okay, these motherfuckers are dark friends.
Yep.
Good clarification. Needed that.
Yeah.
But that means that I think it's a coincidence that the sheet were laid out like that and it was just Trolloc remnants.
It doesn't really make sense looking back.
Yeah, I don't think that the Trollocs would ever is the merge all a little to the left on that one in the back. It doesn't look great. I don't know that they would ever purposely set that up. That's why I just don't really like that scene.
Are you finished with this lamb? Can I move it?
Yeah, exactly. It was just okay, whatever.
Time skip.
Yes. So we're back to reality, the present, and we get the amazing quote from our badass Lyanna Sedai. So I was mispronouncing it on the instant reaction, but it's Lyanna. She comes, the Watcher of the Seals, the Flame of Tar Valon, the Amyrlin seat.
That
was hot.
The transition's so good. I mean, it's basically just the humble beginnings for now, who is the most powerful person in the world. So I thought the two scenes work really well together. And we're into a trial where we get her power on display.
And is it called the Great Hall?
It's the Hall of the Tower.
The Hall of the Tower is so fucking cool. It's circular. It's just laid out for all the different Ajahs to post up on those little, steps for all the leaders. It's just screams fucking politics and let's fucking go.
In a wheel. We'll set it in the
in a wheel.
Reactions.
Yeah.
In a wheel. Everything's a wheel. Everything's a wheel. I really liked the transition from the opening theme to, we come to the camera focusing on Moiraine's face. But what transitioned it, what triggered it was the sound of Leanne's staff hitting the ground off of the title sequence going right. So, and that was as she was announcing, that Siuan Sanche, the Flame of Tar Valon. So it was just the little nuances all around that
thing needs to be a magical item. I don't know anything about it, but I think it needs to be.
Oh, Luke called it.
Her staff.
Yeah.
Magical item again.
You're going with the blanket term of magical item.
Yeah. Actually, it could be one of a couple things. But
okay. It might end up being very likely that you're correct.
I think it's
such a vague guess, but okay.
I like the shot of all the Ajahs. I think I didn't know there was a white Ajah. I didn't pick that up in the intro, and we haven't really talked about the white Ajahs being a political group in there. Yeah. So that was interesting for me to see on the rewatch.
So can we do the colors real quick? We have blue, green, brown, yellow, white, red,
gray,
and gray. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know gray. Is that what Lyanna is?
No, Leanne's
because she's wearing a grayish getup.
No, green.
So Lyanna is she has a special position. So she's known as the Keeper of the Chronicles. She's essentially not an assistant, but she is right under the Amyrlin seat in terms of she will schedule meetings. She's who receives people who want to go see the Amyrlin seat. So that's why she's banging the gavel or the staff and kind of settling everyone in the room. She has that position.
She keeps tradition, right? Like she tries to keep tradition and tries to keep making sure that the Amyrlin seat's doing
Yeah.
the correct thing in her position of power. So
And they're chosen. The Amyrlin gets to pick who that is. And so she's a blue because directly because you don't have to choose someone from your same Ajah, but they do mention that Siuan Sanche used to be a blue before she was raised to the Amyrlin seat.
Murmur.
Yeah.
The whole courtroom. Murmur. Whisper.
So you want to do a quick rundown of what's what?
What do you
Yeah,
mean?
the
No, of what we know of the Ajahs?
Yeah.
So green being like the battle Ajahs, red being the men killers, essentially.
Men
They're kind of like, honestly,
Yellow
they're
are
kind of like
healers.
cops.
Okay.
That sucks.
Yeah, they're narcs.
Blue are the secret key, like the
Spies.
Spies.
So,
yeah.
Secrets.
Blue is
So
kind
brown-
of like going for justice. They like find out information about things that are happening and like try to make sure that bad things don't happen, and then they support good movements.
Secret collectors is I like, even though Leandrin is the one who said that, and she might be an unreliable narrator. I think that's what I like to keep it as headcanon.
Okay. And then so the only ones I don't know are brown and white, what they do.
We
And gray.
can go into
And
it
gray.
because, as our YouTube watchers have said and commented, which we love, please keep commenting. They said, the animated shorts do go into it, so it's no longer a spoiler.
Yeah. So the white Ajah is dedicated to logic
That's
and
dope.
philosophy.
That's
so
cool.
The brown Ajah is knowledge.
Okay.
So they're like basically like the librarians. They're like known for just being like always having their nose in a book and just aloof with reality and practical common sense. They're just always reading.
Wait, so what's the difference between white and brown? One's logic and
Yes.
one's knowledge.
Yes. There's like so the white Ajah are like basically philosophers in the sense like they're like thinking about problems and
Okay.
things like that,
Gotcha.
while the browns are like literally just compiling
Research
like history.
history. It's all
Yeah,
history.
things like that.
Gotcha.
And then the gray Ajah is politics. So they will handle a lot of, if there's like treaties that need to be signed between kingdoms and things like that, gray Ajahs handle all of the politics. So they're like diplomats
Cool.
and like emissaries, I guess you could say.
That's the only one I didn't know was the gray.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking at
then-
you now, and I'm like, oh, Luke would totally just snake into the gray.
So we also know that, well, now we know that the yellow Ajah are the healers, and like Dave said, green battle, red narcs, blue secrets.
Nice.
Yep.
Love that.
All right, first tower scene, Hall of the Towers, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, so it is the hall. We're in the hall of the tower to bring us back to the actual episode. The impression I get from this scene, the most thing that sticks out is just how much of bad bitches Swan and Lyanna Sedai are.
I thought you were gonna say Alana's boobs, but okay.
Well, that too. I definitely.
I swear to God, it would like cut to Lyanna just for 1 second. He's, dude, her boobs.
I was scrolling Reddit, like reading just like a discussion on the episode, and it was, people are making all these points, like picking out the logical inconsistencies, whatever. Like it's a discussion, and then one comment's just, Alana has some big old titties.
Alana, not Liana.
Lyanna. Okay, I'm
He's
sorry.
saying the green.
I am. I'm messing up the names, but I will say I kind of do like that choice because all the other Aes Sedai are really reserved, like in their clothing and their outfits. But
Green or promiscuous a little bit.
yeah, well, exactly.
Show some
If
shoulder.
Alana, right?
Yeah.
Alana like embraces her sexuality. She already says, I could never have one warder. I need at least two. Would welcome 7 probably. So like she embraces her sexuality and like actually shows it off in her outfit. So I thought that was a cool little detail that they showed. A little deep V for
Might be a
Alana.
scoop neck. I don't know what that's called.
Scoop neck.
I know that's a thing. That's like a collar type I know it's for men's shirts. I don't wear scoop necks, but I know people wear scoop necks. So this scene is kind of a little bit split into two. First half of the scene is focused on our FDR, Logain.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about that first. He's brought before the Amyrlin seat. It's just such a great introduction to how she conducts business.
Mhm.
She just tells them to unchain Logain because he can't channel anymore. So he doesn't pose any danger.
And it's really like a backhand to Logain.
Yes.
It's like, yo, dude, you came to the White Tower like marching, and now you're not even a threat. That dude, you're free basically right in front of me.
I was getting more of a backhand to Leandrin too, because her face was like, why are you going to give this man this freedom? Like he deserves to be shackled, kind of. So I took it, but from your perspective, I also agree that it was also a backhand to Logain as well. I fucking love that guy.
Yeah, he's great. I took two main things from this scene. I'm happy it got saved by the end when it gets revealed of why Logain is talking the way he is to the Amyrlin seat. It shows that, well, one, like the Amyrlin seat is smart as shit. She knew from the beginning that the only reason he's being all aggressive and saying this stuff to get killed, to get Mercy killed, is because he's obsessed. I mean, he wants to touch the power again. He lost that ability. So he's basically going suicidal like Tom's nephew. And then the second thing is just that, like, Logain, I really don't know if he's going to play a bigger part. Like, probably not for this season. He might be in the next season because he is going to be a prisoner forever. Like, that was what his sentence was. But yeah, like, I think he just saves it because he's just such a good example of what withdrawal from the one power is.
He kills that little short speech when he's just like, people back in the day would laugh at you for coming up with the idea of trying to build an army to fight the Amyrlin seat, but I did that within less than a year, and I already had an entire army at my back. Like,
yep,
chills, man.
Yeah.
That was such a great scene delivery by him, and then to emphasize it, saying people are going to remember me for staking that green bitch, and I was just like, fuck yeah, they will. I still love
1
you.
verse 9. That's awesome.
I fucking love this guy. I hope he keeps coming back.
He was speaking facts too. I mean, that's like a canonical thing in the books, especially they talk about it a lot in New Spring. So New Spring is the prequel book, happens, I believe, like maybe 20 years before. It's when Moiraine and Siuan themselves first become Aes Sedai. So like Lan isn't bonded to Moiraine in New Spring. And they talk about how there's really not that many Aes Sedai anymore. Like their quarters rather are mostly empty. There's so many empty rooms because the tower was built to house thousands of people. And at the moment, there's like, maybe this is a number I am pulling out of nowhere, but it sounds familiar. 483. What do you think about that, Paul? 483?
I think I'm pulling up Google.
No, do not. Just don't.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
Worth it.
So he is speaking facts. I mean, that's what's happening in the world. Obviously, people are afraid of Aes Sedai, but there's not as many of them now than there used to be. So he, like Luke said, is trying to die. Siuan denies him. She says that she's not so easily fooled as the people out in the world. And if it's the release of death you seek, you won't find it here. No matter what foulness you spill, you will serve as an example for all other false dragons.
And then she references that he's going to have to live with the madness until he dies. Is this
basically till it consumes him?
Yeah, but I thought that the madness from the power would be gone. Is it just like, is she referencing, like, she implying that his new sober madness?
Yeah, I think that's
not having the power, so not the actual madness.
I think that's what we talked about in the instant reaction, that we decided that it's the madness of not having the one power.
Yes,
anymore.
Okay, it makes more sense when it is.
So I know we talked about it last time, but so it's confirmed that if you're a man, sorry, what's that confirmed? It is thought that if you're a man that is channeling and you are cut off from the one power, that curse of madness disappears. That's what we're saying.
I think so.
Yes.
So the curse of channeling as a male disappears, and you are now replaced with the curse of not being able to feel the one power.
Just like withdrawal depression.
Yeah. Because when you touch the male side of the one power, you have to essentially get through the dark one's corruption on it. And so, like, by interacting with that over time, you become mad because it's basically almost like a part of the dark one is inside of you.
I didn't know if it was like a parasite that latched onto you, and then even after you stop channeling, you get gentle, it stays. But
it's described as a pool of power, but on top of the pool, to get to the pool of power, is a thin layer of tar. Just think of it like that. That's sitting there. And that's the taint. Anytime you,
it's the taint.
It's the taint.
Yeah.
It's the,
that's what it is
called.
books.
Sorry, that's the book term.
It's the dark one's taint.
You gotta go in through the taint. I said it on the instant reaction. I'll say it real quick. I don't know if, like, obviously because of the Amyrlin teach reaction and everybody else, you know, when somebody's been gentled, they can't channel whatsoever.
Right.
What are the chances that, you know, he can save a little piece deep inside him, didn't get cut off, and that deep part of him that can touch the one power
comes back.
It's just hidden, and then will slowly grow as he's in prison.
I want that for him because I just love Logain as a character.
I mean, that's cool.
That so bad.
That's cool if he's a walking example of why you shouldn't touch one power, but I feel like his character was so big, and within literally like one episode, almost two, like 1.5, he kind of is like out of the count for, you know, being a main character.
I mean, even Leandrin in like the same scene in a little bit says he was stronger than you.
Let's skip to this part because I think we don't need to talk about Logain anymore.
Yeah, no comment.
Love that.
Oh,
so the official trial of the three main Aes Sedai that were involved with Logain, being Moiraine, Alana, and Liandrin, starts. The Aes Sedai starts asking questions. And this conversation is split into two parts. The first is going to be Liandrin stating her case because she was the head of the whole camp, and like her decision to gentle Logain was coming from her. So she talks, and people are fucked up that the blue and the green Ajahs stand up for her, and they back up her story, saying like he needed to die because of what you were saying.
Yeah, and then she says that we had to do it because left alone he was stronger than yourself. Like you had to be there, and I just. Again, can't emphasize it enough. Fangirl over Logain, man.
Yeah,
just that strength, and his actor's great too. So rooting for him.
Siuan's kind of whole reasoning for being upset at them, she actually echoes what Karene said in episode 4 to Liandrin, in that our laws don't exist to protect our lives, our conflicts. They exist to protect our people from us. So that's exactly what Karene said to Liandrin in episode 4 when they're having the conversation of let's just gentle him now. And Karene's like, we can't do that. There's laws and procedures we have to follow.
Exactly.
Shield first, gentle second, kill last of all.
I love that term, shield. That's such a cool fantasy term.
So
ooh.
Not cool.
We're keeping that crack.
I'm editing this one. I'm taking that out.
Future Kyle, keep that crack.
I get to control the narrative. So Moiraine in this scene also, like we said, stands up for Liandrin, which is kind of like murmur.
Yep.
And she gets called out a little bit because Siuan kind of is asking her now after Liandrin, that fucking snake, brings up like, oh, Moiraine has this chick with her. She didn't tell anyone. So now with the script flips to now we're all grilling Moiraine, and Moiraine is asked, what the hell have you been doing outside of the tower for this long? She refuses to answer. We know it's because she's out there hunting the DR and she can't tell anyone that. I just love this little line that Siuan throws in there. She says to Moiraine, perhaps it's your noble blood, Lady Moiraine Damadred, that breeds contempt for those you consider beneath you.
Whisper.
Yeah, and people are like, oh shit. So that's just a fun little shout out. Moiraine is actually from noble, I guess, birth origins. Yeah. I almost said I was about to crush noble and royalty together, but I couldn't find nobility.
Noble royalty.
I was like, whoa, that's not a word.
Noble royalty.
Dude, Liandrin is so fun to hate, man. I think she's so great on every scene. She's just such a bitch. And she's so good at her delivery. It's so fun to hate her. She's like getting the Joffrey and Ramsay treatment. And I just think it's really enjoyable.
I saw such a funny comment. I believe it was on Twitter that there's people that have started calling Liandrin Joffrey.
Wow, that's fucked up.
That's
but
amazing.
Awesome at the same time.
I think we can use that.
That's just it made me laugh so hard when I read it.
I can't even remember where I was going because Joffrey's.
We'll never be able to interview her.
No, absolutely not. What were you just saying?
Talking about Liandrin, how great she is, but she's also starting to narc, right? Like we're all fighting Moiraine now at this point in time.
Oh, okay, Kyle. Yes, Moiraine and the nobility. Kyle, is it like in fantasy, it's known that, nobility, if you have noble blood, you're kind of drawn to the power or whatever in like different genres. Is that kind of how it is? And that's why Moiraine is like so strong?
No, we saw Swanton.
Yeah, exactly. That's the opening scene is
someone
literally from
fisherman.
Yeah, the most humble of beginnings possible to now the most powerful person.
I don't think it's genetic at all.
Okay. So it just happened to be she was noble. That's awesome.
She has a past that they'll probably go into a little bit more. That's what New Spring was about, a lot of that, which was fun to read. I keep bringing it up because I really enjoyed that book. Kind of the conclusion of this is that Moiraine is, I believe at this point, they kind of schedule sentencing for the next
tomorrow.
day.
Yeah, they're like tomorrow we'll decide. Like I need to think on everything and
judgment
will come tomorrow.
Yeah. So Moraine's kind of in a little bit of hot water now with the Amyrlin seat. She has some type of judgment coming, and Liandrin even hits her with a nice little parting shot in the hallway that tomorrow your reckoning comes.
Dude, Moraine's facial acting in this when she's talking to Liandrin is so good. She is just so fed up with her bullshit.
Yeah.
Just go fuck yourself, Joffrey.
Joffrey, yeah, that's nice. We also had a Liandrin line in there where she said, "Oh, are you not questioning Moiraine because mother was once herself a blue?" And that caused like the biggest murmur, whisper of all, and it even caused Lyanna to use her magical item staff, looking readily. She hit the ground twice with that. When Logain said pin that or stake that green bitch to the wall.
Pin that girl to the wall.
Pin that girl. Stake that green bitch to the wall. Liana only hit the ground once with her staff. So that was almost like by Leandrin.
It was 2 times worse.
Coming at the Amyrlin scene.
Quick maths.
Whew.
1 times 2 is 2. Quick maths.
She's lucky she didn't get slapped.
So
moving on.
Yeah. I will say one last little, I guess, comment is that I'm pretty sure, and I think someone actually pointed this out in our instant reaction YouTube comments. So shout out to that person, that one of the groups of Ajahs, so they all have 3 people in the hall, but the Greens, I'm pretty certain their middle seat was not filled. And I'm pretty sure that's where Karene would have sat, because Karene was Karene's title was Captain General. This is actually pretty cool. This is such a tangent, it doesn't matter, but their rooms are marked by an upward pointed sword lacquered in red, gold, and black carved into the doorway. Nice. And the number 2 is the first strategist, and then the number 3 is the first tactician.
That's cool as shit. Is Alana any of them?
The number of swords is the number of guys you take at once.
Oh, that only works for greens.
Yeah, only for greens, exactly.
I was like, what the fuck? Okay, moving on to the bath scene, because we're going to stick with kind of Moiraine and the whole political maneuverings before we dive into the DR candidates and their storylines. I just want to lead this off with Paul. Do you have anything to say with the? Oh no, this is not Paul's.
No. I think this is a good scene.
Okay.
No, it's a great scene.
Titty scene with Megan and Moiraine.
Yes.
And the Blue Ajahs.
That is a wonderful description.
Yes.
So we get a lot of fun nuggets that get dropped. Megan kind of has some reports of what's going on in the world. She mentions that she actually even recalls that Alana supporting Leandrin in the hall was kind of like, what the fuck's going on with the Greens supporting the Reds. She mentions that there are ships disappearing on the West Coast. So book readers all love that line. That's some really nice foreshadowing for what might happen in future seasons. We have Aiel are on this side of the spine, Trollocs in the 2 rivers, and a Terran ferry was sunk by an Aes Sedai.
And murdered the ferry owner as well.
He committed suicide.
Yeah, pretty much.
He committed suicide by being an idiot.
Didn't even catch that.
Oh, come on.
Didn't catch that, but
bro, he had one hand the whole time.
Honestly, the conclusion of this scene is that, or more the point of this scene is that Moiraine is even seen as kind of an outsider within the Blue Ajah.
We're already outsiders.
Yes, exactly. So Megan tells her, like, hey, you need to stay in the tower because I need to go west to investigate those ships. And then Moraine's like in her head thinking, well, that can't happen.
She did get commanded, and she says that later, which I asked the question on the instant reaction, who would have been higher? And that kind of proves that Megan is higher on the pecking order than Moiraine is in the Blue Ajah, even though Moraine's been gone. Like that has no effect on it.
And I do like too that in the previous scene, we get that Siuan used to be a Blue Ajah, and that in this scene as well, that Megan seems like she is in support of Siuan. She's like on her side for the most, but like they want to follow her because that's her sister, her former sister.
I cannot stop thinking about her Irish accent every time she talks. So
Scottish,
whatever.
Yeah, it's deep, but I like it.
That's the only thing I could focus on when she was talking.
It's very thick, but I like it. Keep it coming.
Do you think Rosamund Pike oiled herself up, or somebody else oiled her up?
Are you looking for a job?
I was gonna say, let me apply to that role. Oh, does that mean you have to like oil everybody up? Because never mind.
Yeah, I mean, you
don't make any comments you'll regret.
Yeah.
You can't have the butthole bleaching job, as that's my job.
Oh yeah, the White Tower.
Yeah, that's my job. So Paul's off.
I'll be the oiler.
But before leaving the scene, they also do re-emphasize that Nynaeve has the most powerful potential in living memory of any user of the power.
Mm-hmm.
And then as Moiraine reaches for her towel, she also gets a little branch of a little plant drops. And is there a name to that in the books?
I have no idea.
It's just
because
a sign.
It was, it obviously was a signal that Moiraine set up ahead of time. It's the same plants that are hanging down from the Yellow Ajah's quarters that we actually go into. Shout out Emily for pointing that out. I hate to give her credit. Credit is due.
Wait, that's what that was?
Yeah.
I literally wrote my notes like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but
yeah, I don't like giving Emily credit, but she's
wow, the
you've
SME
done that multiple times in these episodes.
SME getting put in his place here a little bit.
It didn't happen in the books.
All right.
I thought that was a cool little connection, and that is the scene that we jump into, but we're going to wait on that.
Yeah, so the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be Moiraine and Siuan and the whole plot twist to this episode. So it kind of happens in, I guess it's 3 parts. So it's Moiraine and Lan in Moraine's room. Then we have Moiraine and Siuan. It's pre-sexy time, and then we have post sexy time.
The Lan and Moiraine stuff, there's nothing really you learn new here besides the fact that Lan is aware of Siuan and Moraine's connection.
Yeah, and also I think it's important too that they drop the concept that Moiraine can mask their bond, so she can kind of hide the connection almost.
Lan was freaking out. He hurried in there and almost like ran in because he can't feel her. He's all worried. Maybe she's attacked, and he busts in, and all of a sudden she's just chilling there doing her makeup.
That's very selfish of her to stop him from feeling an orgasm.
That's what I'm saying. Why do you gotta keep Lan hooked up to your feelings for all the bad parts? Except as soon as you get all your jollies off, then you cut him off from the source. Like, that's messed up.
So Moiraine uses the magical item to now go to what looks like a fisherman's hut. So if I'm honest, I don't love this because it's not really well explained what's going on. Part of that is on purpose. Part of it is they also have there's explore like bonus content that tells you what it is. So it says that it's a terre angreal, which are just magical items.
I would have said that term, but it meant nothing to you guys at the time because that's a
still
specific,
means really nothing to me.
It's a subset of the magical items.
Yeah, so there's types of magical items. This is one of them, one of the types. Obviously, it has to be, and it just isn't one from the book. And what it does by like sending her to another place just feels kind of wrong to me. Just seems like that shouldn't be possible. But I mean,
it's a book.
I feel
it's
like
a nitpicking book reader thing.
Yeah. Important part is that we get the Moiraine and Siuan interaction, and if this is what it takes to get it, then I'm on board.
Okay, I'm sorry. What you're confused about that she has this item that can lead anywhere?
Yeah, it just the fact that they have it like this teleporting.
Well, to be fair, in the following scene that we have, I mean, it's still teleporting, but Siuan has the same magical item in her quarters.
Yeah.
So it is. It's not like anywhere. It's only from like.
It's the teleporting part that could
body.
potentially break further down the line storylines.
Yeah.
Because like the ways is like the fastest way to travel.
Yes.
So
there's specified ways to do these kind of things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like if they knew that they could use that thing, they would use it for more than just hooking up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like the Aes Sedai's organization would put that to better use. But I guess it's maybe property of the Amyrlin seat.
Yeah, that begs a lot of questions.
For Moiraine and Siuan fuck, they have it's an interesting relationship they have here because we know that in reality, in the real world, I guess you could say, Siuan is the Amyrlin seat. She is the boss of pretty much almost the world. She pretty much claims the world in the trial scene. But we get the roles flipped a little bit here. It seems that Moiraine is our dom.
Love to see it.
Get on your knees, man. That was payback for earlier.
Yeah, that was a really interesting twist to go along with the fact that they were already in a relationship. That Moiraine is also the power in the relationship.
I mean, it was really cool back and forth. Moiraine calls her mother, and she's like, I hate it when you call me that.
That's a title of power, in that she doesn't want to be referenced to that. She wants to just be a fisherman in bed.
Like so much for not having any favorites between all your daughters as the mother, and when were we ever wants to follow the rules?
That is fun because it's also a thing that when Moiraine and Siuan were right before they became Aes Sedai, so when they were novices and accepted in the tower, basically students, they would pull pranks on like a lot of everyone else. When they get raised to be Aes Sedai, it's like they do whatever the test is, and then they're like, okay, tomorrow we'll do the whole ceremony for you guys. So that night they like get a bunch of mice, put them in a red sister's bed that they don't fuck with. And then they get caught, obviously. But
it's like Aang. Aang becomes the Avatar, but he likes his pranks because you're wearing an Avatar The Last Airbender shirt. So.
I am, yes. It looks great on me, thanks.
I also like here, we mentioned in the instant reaction, but it's definitely important to mention here that Moiraine has been looking for the Dragon Reborn for 20 years and that she has found 5 potential DRs, but because the prophecy is so old and mistranslated, it's been translated multiple times, that the power of the Dragon Reborn could have been split amongst 5 of the potential DR candidates.
And to continue with some other information drops, Siuan and Moiraine were the only ones that were present when the Aes Sedai that foresaw the dragon being born, like they were the only ones there to hear that.
To see the prophecy. And Siuan said, we saw the child be born.
Siuan also says they have to keep this on the DL still because if the other sisters find out, they're going to be stilled. And stilled is the female version of gentled. So they're two different types. They're two different types of, I guess, magical rituals to strip the different genders of their powers.
Okay.
And then the third thing that Siuan says is they talk about her prophetic dream We don't know if it's the future or what's going on, but she's seeing dreams every night for a couple months, I think she says, where she sees the Dark One at the Eye of the World, and then she goes on to say that's where his prison is, and he's growing stronger and stronger every single day.
But he's still overall weak.
Yeah, super weak. And then she wants to send the Emmonsfield Five, because they don't know who the dragon is, to the Eye of the World so that this can be dealt with.
But Moiraine doesn't like that because she says it could be just one of them still, and that sending all 5 of them would be a death sentence to the other 4.
ones,
so
yeah.
she doesn't want to do that route. But like we do in every episode, just the Dragon Reborn candidate, where we think they're at. I still think it's Nynaeve.
We'll talk more about this at the end if you don't want to get into it yet.
Okay, that's fine. I just thought now would be a good time, but I'm fine with it at the end.
Guys, I didn't say it. That was Paul's sexiest scene.
Oh, true.
Oh, cue the music.
It's some spicy time.
Yeah, when
Some
Moiraine
kissing.
said on your knees, that was Paul's sexiest scene. There's a few things I got to say about the pillow talking afterwards.
Mhm.
One, you guys already said it. Moiraine said, I heard from a gleeman that there's tales of many-headed dragon. And my question is, what gleeman was spouting that? Because that's interesting. And if she actually holds any weight to it. And I don't know if that is just an example of the prophecy being lost in translation over years. Like translation after translation, or I don't know if that's foreshadowing. Another thing, another question, or more another observation is that she calls Moiraine her little pufferfish. When her talons or her spikes go down. Just another nod to the fisherman analogies of where she grew up from. And my last comment is that I'm a little nervous that Siuan is like having these dreams of the Dark One being purposefully weak, being fed into her from the Dark One, saying, "Oh, I'm weak. Don't come get me now. Don't do it." Because like that's what she's thinking. Like, "Oh, let's attack right now while he's weak." And I'm nervous that he's purposefully sending her messages, misrepresenting how strong he actually is at the Eye of the World. I'm worried they're gonna get there. And he's gonna bust out like with his cock out and just destroy them all. And be
Dude,
super
episode
strong.
8, bro, is going to be fucking crazy.
I will say that the end of the first book, I read it and was like, how are there 13 more books? I feel like that's the story. Like, where do we go from here? So the ending is going to be wild. Dave, what is your opinion on these dreams?
I actually really was vibing with what Paul was saying. That was kind of my thought process as well.
Vibe, huh?
I was honestly I was getting real like death vibes from that. Like, I think the Dark One might kill Siuan, and I think I want to put that on the board as a potential foreshadow of what I'm calling out now. But just really don't trust it either. Interested to see where it goes.
I guess one fun thing is that they mentioned the prophecies. So Siuan insists that the prophecies are clear about what the dragon is. She mentions that the last dragon was a man. There's no way the wheel would split his soul into 5 souls. So we talked about it on episode, it was 5, I guess. So it was our last episode deep dive when Rand has that book. That's the Coriathan cycle.
Mhm.
The Coriathan cycle are the prophecies of the dragon.
I guess not to get too into it, but it's essentially a checklist of a bunch of different fucking things that are said. And again, who knows how word for word accurate you could take them because of the translation issues over the years. And then we don't know. It's like the Aes Sedai telling not lying, but talking around the truth. Like, you never know what you're reading.
Yeah. And some of them are very literal, and then some of them are metaphors.
Mhm.
So it like bounces back and forth between like this event will happen, this thing will happen, but it's in like flowery language.
So
That's like a
it's
metaphor.
Because you keeps you guessing and you really don't know.
So yeah, it's funny that she says the prophecies are clear when it's like, are they really? Have you read them?
Then the punishments aside, which is to exile Moiraine so she can get out of Megan's command to stay in the tower.
Yep.
We covered a lot of this on the instant reaction, but I know Kyle's got some nuggets. But I do want to say again, straight up spirit stick. That's what it looked like. What she had to swear on.
Oh, you're talking about the oath rod.
Yeah, the oath rod. Spirit
Well,
stick.
okay. So that's the following day, right? We have Moiraine starting to get ready for her trial. She knows it's like basically game time. And then we have Leandrin and her talk first, though, right? Oh, Leandrin calls her out first. And then this is when Moiraine has the best mic drop about talking about how she knows that she's meeting a man in North
Harbor, which is the clit of the island of Tar Valon. We actually mentioned this on an instant reaction and never went into a deep dive.
Yeah.
But the island of Tar Valon, where all of the women witches live, is shaped like a vagina on purpose. And then there's the White Tower, which is like a penis that is there inside of the vagina. And then the North Harbor at the top is like the clit.
Wow.
That's a thing.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, so that's something to mull over.
Give that city planner a raise.
Yeah. You know what, bro? I appreciate that. We should give all city planners raises, but yeah. Leandrin did intercept them on their way to meet Loial, the goat.
Awesome, because in between that Leandrin conversation and actually talking to Loial, she says to Lan, like, come on, like, tell me what I'm dealing with. Lan tells him, yeah, well, he's very upbeat. She's like, all right, I can deal with that. And we see Moiraine smile more than we've seen. Like,
True.
She only smiled this much when she like talked to the White Cloaks in episode 3, I think it was. When she was like putting on a face.
She matched his energy.
Yeah.
Moiraine, your name sings in my ears.
Never gets old. Will
So
never
good.
get old.
She greets him with the greeting, glory to the builders. Ogier are notorious. I guess that's probably not the right word. They're famous for their craftsmanship. They built the White Tower. They all like the big famous castles kind of around were mostly built by Ogier.
Basically a hybrid between dwarves and giants.
I thought his name literally like Loial Builder because she would like say builder and bow to him.
Yeah. It's more of like an honorific title for any Ogier because they built all of these amazing structures. They're known like to work really well with stones.
That's dope.
Yeah. The last thing is going to be the trial. This is honestly not that long of a scene. It's just a very emotional scene. Siuan basically hands Moiraine the oath rod, the spirit stick, as Paul likes to call it, which forces her to restate the oath of exile, essentially. And the acting is just so fucking good in the scene.
And this is another Terra Angrial for you guys, like the subset of magical items. It's in the same category as the painting, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. Basically,
Makes
the
sense.
Terra Angrial are magical items that have one purpose. Like they do one thing.
And they could be anything, like a random specific thing.
Okay.
So we've seen one that teleports people. We have one that physically almost binds oaths to people. There's just kind of a theme like that.
Makes sense.
The one issue that I do have with this scene.
Can I guess? She
Go ahead.
doesn't repeat it back perfectly.
No, that's important, but no.
Oh, okay.
I guess honestly part of it is only because the way that she changes it, like there's no way that everyone else didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Or, like, did you guys hear her calling her pet names? Like, what was good with that? Like,
Yeah, no,
how did they
it's
not
like-
know?
I was thinking the
These two
same thing.
fucking
Yeah, like, yo, there's a lot of sexual tension in this room right now.
Until it's the Amyrlin seat, Siuan Sanche, my boo, my baby girl,
Yeah,
calls me
basically.
back.
That's exactly what happens, though.
She was
she was
She
whispering.
was whispering.
it.
I was gonna say she
Yeah.
was whispering a little bit, but
Yeah.
like, there's no way that like to everyone else there's just like
Yeah.
an awkward pause for like 5 seconds.
To go off of that, she does when it gets to or may the creator cast my face in darkness. What was it?
My soul.
My soul, my,
My
face.
face.
Just my
Whatever. That was close. When she does get to that part, she does raise the volume of her voice. So I don't know if that was intentional.
Yeah.
You know,
It
she was
probably
speaking
was.
so quietly, but at the same time, to go off of that, it's like, yo, you're crying. Like, I know that may be as Moiraine, you know, she's getting exiled. It's fair if she cries. Swan, the Amyrlin seat, Miss Tough, she's crying.
She
And it's
lost
like
a
it could
sis-
be one
she
of her
lost a
daughters
daughter,
leaving.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be one of her daughters leaving, but you know, a little obvious.
She could fake cry for any of her daughters.
But quickly on, I do like that they said what the penalty of breaking these oaths are, which is getting your soul consumed by darkness. So that's
Base.
also what's going to happen if they ever lie, right? Like they can't lie, basically. You know, like how we talked about the different, what are they? The Hawkwing
Oaths.
oaths.
The oaths, yeah.
So it's just cool to see it. I don't know. This doesn't necessarily happen like this in the books, but it's cool to see the item because it's so like renowned.
Yeah, I think that it's just to get the idea of the oath rod out there in front of us.
Yeah.
Doing something other than creating the oaths because we're not creating any Aes Sedai at the moment. So this is just like an easy way to be like, hey, look at this oath rod. This is how they do it.
They cemented it pretty well throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
To go back to an earlier scene when Swan is talking to Leandrin and saying, hey, like, you just took the shawl. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
So is the Shaw basically swearing on the oath rod?
So it's interesting because they chose not to do the shawls, it seems like, in the show, but in the books, every Aes Sedai has like a shawl, like a physical clothing item of the Ajahs that they are in. So like Moiraine has a blue shawl that she wears, and you are given the shawl when you become an Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
But they didn't do it in the show, which is interesting. Some people were upset about that.
I mean, I was a little confused because I thought the Shaw was literally swearing on the oath rod spirit stick.
No. Yeah. Are you less confused now?
Yeah.
Cool.
And Luke got me a beer. So.
To go back to your point about her not repeating the oaths word for word, separate from the pet names being used in front of everyone, she does swear to Siuan Sanche. She doesn't swear to the Amyrlin seat. So that's like an important thing. Obviously, the words matter. So she swears to Siuan.
Okay. Because there was talk of Mygan, the blue, saying, Siuan is kind of losing it. So it does seem to be there are murmurs of not a mutiny, but people looking for another Amyrlin seat.
So, question, Dave, specifically for you. If you were to be correct about your theory that Siuan ends up dying, what would that mean to you for this oath? Does that mean, would you guess that Moiraine would be permanently banned from the tower because she wouldn't have Siuan to call her back?
I didn't think too much into that theory, but now that you got me thinking a little bit,
everything matters.
Everything matters.
I don't know. I think it's gonna happen. I think they're gonna reunite again. So I think it's gonna happen after Siuan calls her back.
Like not season 1 death. You're calling for Siuan then. That's what you're saying.
Say it one more time.
Like you don't think Swan's gonna die in season 1?
No. I think her death would come later down the line for Moiraine.
As the dagger is getting driven into Siuan's heart, she says, "Moiraine, come back."
It would be like
it
would be a low point for Moiraine, just because now that we know that she's from nobility, I imagine that she hasn't struggled much in her life, and then maybe losing a loved one might cause her to like switch sides to a certain degree or make her like lose herself for a little bit. Good question.
All the sisters turning the back on her. So fucked up. I mean,
it's tradition.
It is tradition. You could tell some of them didn't want to do it. Which Amyrlin seat Siuan didn't have to turn around, so that was like a watch you walk out.
Yeah. Part of me doesn't love the logic of using exile as the punishment for someone that is never around. I read that on Twitter and was like, fuck, that's such a good point. You just ruined that for me. Yeah, I guess I might have just ruined it for some people out there. But it just kind of, when you like lay it out like that, it's like, okay, Moiraine, you're never around. You don't ever tell us what you're doing, and you won't answer my questions. Exile. Go do it more, basically.
Yeah.
But being exiled, I mean, she doesn't have any authority being an Aes Sedai anymore, right?
I guess that is going to be the question of when she leaves the tower, is she like excommunicado?
Like, is she no longer
she'll be able
Moiraine
to still
Sedai?
flash the ring, though, is kind of the thing. So like if they took the ring, maybe I would believe that a little more. I'm just, I guess, more curious to see how it goes.
I think just don't read into it because I don't know about that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
That's kind of like
she still has the ring. She's still made the ways, to jump.
Yeah, she can still channel.
Yeah.
Cool Kathleen Peacemaker kind of thing. Like moving on.
Yeah, we're okay. Moving on to our Emmons Field 5. So we get a lot of nice scenes with them. Actually, not a lot of nice scenes, but just good scenes with them. The first one is going to be Moiraine healing Mat of the dagger.
Dude, the CGI in this scene is the best of the episode, without a doubt, of course. But it's up there for the series so far.
Really well done. Love to see it. And I liked how we talked about on the Insta reaction, how the darkness was trying to corrupt Moiraine as well by going into her mouth, but she was just so strong that she was able to throw it back into the dagger. But again, really well done scene. I always wonder, like, I was even thinking of it while we were watching, like, Rand's eyes were like following the CGI effect of it, like coiling around her arm. Like, how do they?
The darkness.
Like the darkness coiling around her arm and like sliding up her body and everything. Like, do they have just like a laser pointer on her, like her arm, and it's like track this, and that's how we'll get the eye movements.
Look at the wrist. Look at the elbow.
Yeah.
Look at her mouth.
Dude, but the music in the background was so good and intense. Like Moraine's acting again was just so, like, she understood the gravity of the situation, because we find out later that a normal person would have been way dead by this point if it wasn't Mat. So like just the way that she understands all this. Two really great attention to detail parts of this scene are, one is every single reaction by Rand I thought was so good. Like the way that as soon as they come in, he's shocked and he's like, "Oh my god, like how you doing?" And as soon as they look at Mat, he thinks in his head, because he's like, I wouldn't say corrupted, but he's twisted a little bit by Nynaeve's perspective, like and Tom's, that
He was channeling.
Moiraine might just kill him right now because he doesn't know any better, right? So he has that piece of attention to detail. And then the second one I love that I only caught the second watch through is after Moiraine does the whole stripping of the darkness from the dagger and puts it down, like it pans over and like just passes by Lan, and Lan's like completely out of breath. And he didn't do anything. And it's because he's feeling what she is while she's going through this whole motion. Lan's also physically like having to deal with the stress of ripping the darkness off this.
Probably can't breathe
Yeah.
either. I mean,
Like
it's
it
covering
was just a
him out.
cool attention to detail, I thought.
That was one of my questions, was how difficult was actually pulling the darkness, this curse, out of Mat, because she looked physically exhausted afterwards.
Mhm.
And, Luke just said, even Lan did. So it's like, all right, how, in terms of shielding Logain, I mean, it had to be like right underneath that, it seems like, because she was like dizzy and exhausted afterward.
Yeah, because then she goes on to say that the dagger was feeding off Mat's own darkness within him. So it seemed like the dagger was a magical item that was pretty fucking attached to him.
Yeah.
And it's darkness. So like if it's the darkness from Shadar Logoth, what
Shadar Logoth.
Whatever your heart desires.
Okay.
Shadar Logoth.
Okay, yeah, sure. That one. Like that seemed like a powerful curse. So I think it's up there in terms of just how much energy it took from her.
And Lan, we saw him throw like a cloth over it and didn't touch it. But I still think it's kind of on him and he's waiting to dispose of it somewhere. And I'm waiting to see if the dagger actually comes back into play. It would be sweet if like they're getting attacked and Lan's like, hey, here's a dagger, take this. And like that, their enemy just like gets fucked up like from the madness and the curse. That would be amazing.
They would just like stop fighting and have a little gift exchange.
No, he's like, oh, don't take my dagger. Little reverse psychology.
Don't take this thing in this cloth here. Don't take this.
Don't drop my dagger.
Yeah, you could like I guess plant that on people to just fucking ruin their life.
That would be, yeah.
And no one said the quote yet of the scene.
Stupid boy.
Oh,
you
my God.
stupid boy.
So good.
That's when the music ramps up and it's so good.
She's, oh my God. She looks at the dagger and is just so disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I'm curious what you guys think of this whole dagger arc now. It's kind of, we've seen it pretty much conclude.
Well, it kind of, in my opinion, leads to the end of the episode.
You want to talk about it then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine with me.
So we're pretty much good there, right? We get Moiraine talking and scolding, rightfully so, Nynaeve, saying, bruh, you're a fucking healer. What the hell are you doing? Like, I know. So like, why the hell, like you're being prideful. You're going to kill your friends. You don't know what you don't fucking know. And she reiterates that Nynaeve is with the Amyrlin seed scene later.
And it's important to note too that she says that he shouldn't touch the knife again, the dagger again, because one, it could just be way worse for him and it would probably kill him. But two is that he was feeding into the knife as much as the knife was feeding into him, which I took as Mat was like almost accepting of, like, even though he was able to hold out for a month, there was some middle ground between him and the knife that allowed him to stay alive.
As like trying to be as objective as I possibly can with the knowledge I have, does that not add some clout to the possibility that Mat could be the dragon because of the way Moiraine talks about there being something in him that wasn't the dagger? I'm just like asking, is that, or is it not important at all to you guys? You still think that?
We can go into that later if we're going to do the Dragon Reborn talk later, but I still, my idea is still open to the idea that any one of them could still be
okay.
it. Like, I still think it's specifically Nynaeve, but I think open to the idea of any one of them still individually being it.
3 small things. One, I said on the interaction, but I love the interaction between Lan and Rand in this scene. It's just funny that Rand unsheaths the sword and Lan steps right in front of Moiraine and is like, brother,
you're an idiot.
Yeah, slow it down. So that's just like fun. And then the second thing is that Moiraine again calls Loial builder in this scene. This is actually the first time it happens, and she bows to him, which I think is interesting. And then the third thing is just going to be the quote that I thought Luke was going to say, and now I feel good that I get to say it. If wisdom is the title you claim, I suggest you start using some.
Fuck yeah.
Bang, bang.
Nynaeve needs to grow up a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. And to go off Dave's point, but with the darkness feeding in to the dagger, and then also whatever is inside of Mat, I feel like they've done a decent job of showing that Matt has a little bit of this duality to him, where like he loves the girls and he's a great brother and caretaker to them, but he also has some negative traits in that he's a gambler,
alcoholic.
he's a thief. I mean, yeah, he has some alcoholism, I guess, in his family. So they've kind of have set that up a little bit throughout the season.
Agreed. That's why I wanted to note that.
This is connecting what Emily pointed out for Paul, who pointed out for us. The yellow Ajah's message to Moiraine when she had the Megan scene to let her know that Perrin and Egwene arrived, and they go to the Medicus.
Ooh, Spartacus
Yeah, like
callback.
Yeah, that was a double. Ooh, I didn't expect that. That was
Talk
nice.
about someone who's missing a limb, the Medicus and Spartacus.
Oh my god!
But I noticed that he didn't have an arm.
Did you?
Yeah, I noticed that one.
But this is a quick scene. We can talk a little bit more about it. What the main takeaways are: Perrin's still knocked out and healing from his torture. Egwene has saw the wolf eyes and tells Moiraine about it, who says, "Don't tell anybody about that, or they'll kill him." And then also Egwene gives Valda's rings to Moiraine and it kind of partially avenged the killing of the Aes Sedai.
Paul, Moiraine, you give our girl Egwene like a nod of respect, a little bit of thank you, maybe, instead of just taking the rings and doing literally nothing. Like, come on, little respect.
She was busy.
Oh
she was moving around this episode.
Yeah, I did say that on the instant reaction. Her steps are out of this world.
Paul, what did you think on Valda still being? You still think Valda's alive, correct?
Yeah, when Egwene says, "Oh, Valda will never hurt any of your sisters again," I was like, "That is a wild assumption."
That's what I wanted to call out, was that notion being completely wrong, because he's definitely going to come back and.
How funny would it be if she said, "Valda is confirmed out"?
Confirmed.
He's confirmed not going to kill.
I would say, Egwene, you know what we say about the word confirmed.
You don't watch Bingetown TV.
Yeah, unless we see it on screen. It ain't confirmed. And, I had the assumption, it's funny you say that Perrin was knocked out. The way that they zoomed in on him, I was like, is he still awake? Is he hearing this conversation between Egwene and Egwene, Moiraine and Egwene? Or is he actually knocked out? Because, we get the line, Moiraine drops, the yellow Ajah are the best healers in the world. It's like the physical damage will never happen. And Egwene drops maybe only the physical. What's the
physical damage on the outside? Will he be healed, not the inside?
Yeah, she basically says that emotionally it's still going to impact him. I love that little line, as we've seen as well. Keystone to Perrin's storyline in this season has been his kind of relationship with violence and what it kind of the impacts that it has on him. So I just like that they're continuing to hit these story beats with even just these one-liners, just like that consistently. I've been really enjoying.
And at the end, when Egwene says, his eyes went gold, and the way that the Marine snaps around, she says, Luke already said it, don't tell anybody. But she also goes into we have no idea what the dragon is, what form they will take, and what powers they will wield. Like, it's just an ongoing thing. So nobody has,
which should open the possibility back up to Perrin if you thought like his only thing was going to be just not like wolves.
Yeah.
Because she says, like, is this a trait of the dragon, basically? And Maureen's like, we have no fucking idea.
Dude, what did I say? He was king of wolves in his last turn of the wheel.
Yeah.
That was my guess.
Yep.
Paul says king of the wolves and Dave says werewolf, so we'll find out.
No, I take back the where I was reading some of the YouTube comments, and some of them were pitching their own theories, and I'm on some of them were saying that he can just communicate with them, and I think I'm on that wavelength right now where he can just communicate with them. But it also is important to note that she says, don't tell anyone, because people would hurt him. So it's not viewed as a positive thing. It is a negative.
Sure. Aes Sedai included.
Aes Sedai as well.
Which
so
is wild.
We know that whatever he's dealing with is not a good thing.
Yeah.
I would never hurt him.
I think the next thing we jump to is the next Egwene scene, right?
Yeah. One other thing I would like to just comment, going off my point of the kind of consistent story beats that are driving a lot of these concepts home. Moiraine is so Aes Sedai-like in the conversations that she has with Egwene, with the whole "we can't lie" thing, when she's like, "Oh, I have it on good authority that they're alive. Like, tomorrow when I call for you, come, but tell no one where you're going." It's just this secretive thing where, like, she's withholding information, but you also know she's not lying, which is infuriating. I feel like that would be so annoying.
Oh, 100% to deal with. Yeah.
So we can move to the scene that Moraine's actually referencing here when she says, "When I call for you." So Moiraine brings Egwene into the hall of the tower, and we have a nice little reunion scene here. So Nynaeve finally, meets back up with Egwene. The last time they saw each other was the attack at Evans Field when Nynaeve is dragged away by the Trolloc.
It's got to be very reassuring for Egwene here, just knowing that she wasn't she didn't do any wrong by having Nynaeve get captured. Like, it wasn't her fault or anything. And it's just good closure for both of them. Although it is a short-lived reunion because literally Moiraine is like, all right, well, you guys can reunite later. We got to see the person that should not be waited on by anyone.
But she says it way cooler than you just did.
I was hoping someone else had the quote.
What's the Amyrlin seat waits for one woman, and it's not you.
And it's not you. Oh, I loved it. I think that was the line of the episode. Honestly, she had so many good
Paul's
ones.
sexiest line.
Dude.
Is that a new segment?
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. Moraine's hotness definitely went up like a notch because of that, just that attitude that she has. I just think that's so sexy.
She was the hottest in this episode.
Yeah, 100%. And that I love, the blue outfit with the headpieces. Yeah, the jeweled headpieces. Maybe not the shoulder pads, but
the icon.
She looks great in this episode, man.
I do like the little bit of a maybe fourth wall break, you'd call it, essentially, when Egwene is almost talking as the audience, when she's like, isn't it confusing to have the woman and the chair name the same thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love that too. Just ask her yourself. Jeez. Yeah, but that was like the audience, like you were saying, just asking the writers a question. Like, isn't this a little confusing?
That's, I believe, just on a rough count, the third time they've done that. They did it with Ogier and Ogre, and they did it with Nynaeve's name as well in episode 4. So just fun little shit, I don't know.
Fun nuggets.
Yeah. Moving to the conversation of Egwene, Nynaeve, and Siuan Sanche takes place in Siuan's room. Like Paul mentioned a little bit earlier, she does have the same picture magical item hanging up on her wall. So that's a nice little bit of consistency there. But this fucking conversation is amazing. There's just so many nice one-liners. It's the difference between how Egwene reacts and how Nynaeve reacts. I feel like just characterize both of them really well.
It's so good, book accurate. It's so book accurate. Like, that was just exactly how they react every time they're talking to anybody.
Like Siuan, like when Siuan was thanking Egwene was like bowing. She was like, "Yes."
Egwene's always
smile.
adding the honorific at the end, saying like, she'll add Leandrin Sadai or Alana Sadai, where Nynaeve never does those kind of things. So it's just so good how she's respectful.
Now that you blown smoke
she
up our asses.
appreciates the Aes Sedai faction, while obviously Nynaeve hates them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a couple of interesting things here. Egwene actually thinks that Siuan is talking about her when she says, the most powerful channeler that we've seen in a lifetime.
In 1,000 years.
And 1,000 years, that's way more than a lifetime.
The other quote about Nynaeve in the beginning of this episode says in a lifetime.
Gotcha.
Like they say, Moiraine was with the most powerful potential we've seen in our lifetime, but here they say 1,000 years, which is way more respect.
So Egwene, realizes that she needs to put more respect on Nynaeve's name, even though that she was supposed to be her mentor as a wisdom. And we also get a cool line here where after Nynaeve just sasses back, where I said it in the instant reaction, she needs to check herself before she wrecks herself.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a line where Siuan says, "You guys think you can do as you want, threads weaving in and out of the pattern without consequence." And the way that she said threads, we've heard threads once or twice. You guys, the book readers, have been mentioning it. I'm excited to kind of get more into that and the meaning behind the threads and the weaves and the patterns. And
doesn't it seem so metaphorical, but at the same time can be so literal?
I mean, just from the title sequence alone.
I was just going to mention, the title sequence is them weaving.
Yeah. And it shows all the Aes Sedai and the different Ajahs and stuff like that. But how much more is there to it? Is it like, Wanted? Where the threads.
The whole time you're talking, I'm just like, I'm waiting to make this Wanted comment right now.
Like, we listen to the threads. Like, we don't.
Who are we gonna kill next?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't know if it's just an Aes Sedai thing or if it's a wheel thing. Like, the whole world deals with the weaves.
I really think that next episode we're gonna get a big exposition dump about it.
I would enjoy that.
I don't know, but I'm anticipating some type of conversation about it.
I think that's also likely it could happen in episode 8, though.
Yeah, I just think of where they're going and what they're going to be doing and who they're doing it with to be as vague as fucking humanly possible is a good setup for it.
I also like how Siuan says, the wheel doesn't give a fuck.
Because Nynaeve wants out. She doesn't want any part of the Aes Sedai or the White Tower. She just wants Egwene and wants to just go back home. But this is where Siuan is telling her, like, no, unfortunately, like, even if you go back, like, the wheel's going to call you.
Yeah.
So.
She says, you've been called to greatness. The wheel does not care if you are young or afraid, petty or weak. It certainly does not care what you want. The wheel calls you to this. The last battle is coming. Bang, bang.
And last battle, subtitle gang, is capitalized.
Mhm.
So it is
It's in the Corinthian cycle.
there you go. It's, I guess, every cycle there's a dragon reborn and then a last battle and then resets. This is
all vague.
throwing shit out there. I don't know anything.
Yeah. I mean, the breadcrumbs are definitely being dropped around. And it's our job to kind of find them and talk about them. So
That's cool. Wheel doesn't give a fuck.
Is it Avengers time?
Yeah, it's Avengers time, I think.
this scene happens chronologically after the sentencing. So Moiraine gets dumped out of the hall, hops on her trusty steed, and is just, I just love the action shot of her galloping through the trees. My headcanon is they were like, dude, that's so badass. We gotta keep that.
Epic fantasy music kicks in.
Yeah, it was nice. So she gallops her way to the Waygate, which is just some big fucking structure in the middle of some empty field.
First one there, and I would be like, where the fuck are these kids that I told be here right at this moment? I'm sorry, Dave. I thought you were
Alone. But who comes first? The goat, Loial.
and the strongest horse
Yes.
of all time.
Yes.
Carrying his 600-pound ass.
This is again
Is it a Rye
credit
Shadium?
credit to Emily. She was like, dude,
Damn.
that horse
Oh, I
must
didn't get
be
that.
strong as fuck.
Those calves.
It's moving so slow. They're like the most like labored steps. It's really funny. After Loial shows up, Perrin and Egwene then ride up, and then Lan rides out of the trees with Mat, Rand, and Nynaeve.
Let's go.
It's just a great reunion. I just love, we talked about it on the instant reaction, obviously, but the Perrin and Mat interaction's great. Rand and Egwene are finally together again. That's been such a central part to their journeys for, I guess it's what, episodes 4 and 5.
Yeah, Gwen could have got a fucking nut, and she chose to hold out for Rand.
True. Yeah. Aaron was definitely looking to get in on that.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
She showed
I
him
will
no.
say that like all of the reunions were great, except I do wish they spent 15 more seconds on the Rand and Egwene stuff. That would be my
Yeah.
complaint. It didn't feel enough.
Yeah, I would agree, actually, now that you're saying it. And especially because, like I said, it's such a big part of their episodes, I guess even 3, 4, and 5, that Rand's like, I gotta find Egwene. And she's like, I know Rand's alive.
Emily had a comment where Moiraine and Egwene were in the the hall of the tower.
Hall of the Tower, yes.
The hall of the tower, and Moiraine says, "Oh, there's somebody here to see you." Emily was like, "Oh, it's gonna be Rand. And they're gonna reunion, and it's gonna be cute." And it ended up being Nynaeve. The way they hugged and like, "Oh, I missed you. I thought you were dead." And then, as Luke was saying, the way Egwene and Rand just kind of like hug and, "Oh, I thought I lost you." They don't even kiss. Nothing. Yeah, I agree. I was a little let down because this was Rand's like sole goal, and he just kind of
They might have an important conversation in the beginning of this episode. Like, obviously they will about Matt and stuff, but like they might catch up a tiny bit, which could do it.
I mean, they're a party that's now adventuring through this dangerous land, almost, you could say. So I'm pretty sure it's ripe for conversation.
Yeah.
They're just kind of traveling.
I said it in the instant reaction. I'll say it again. The interaction between Mat and Perrin, just fucking love. It's just what a dude would say to a friend he hasn't seen in a long time. Just walks up, "You look like shit," followed by, "Well, at least I wasn't stupid enough to grab a cursed dagger," and then just like hug it out right after.
Matt also definitely looks worse than Perrin.
Oh, so
He
much
looks
worse.
terrible. Yeah,
Like, it's so funny that Matt is saying that.
he's so pale.
After all of the pleasantries and the reunion, Nynaeve kind of comes back down to earth and is wondering what the fuck is going on. Why did Moiraine bring them to this wild structure? What is actually happening?
She needs answers.
Dude, of course she asks it like a little brat too.
But
She's like, we already told everybody what you told us. Like, we're not going to follow you unless you give us the answers, which
Yeah.
I agree. You know, you do deserve some answers, but there's way nicer ways of asking.
I think by the end of the season, Nynaeve is going to have a newfound respect for at least Moiraine. Maybe not all of the Aes Sedai, but I just imagine that whatever happens in these 2 episodes is going to just bring them all so much closer, and Nynaeve is finally going to just get over this little bratish phase that she has right now.
Okay. You think
That's
she's
just-
going to get humbled?
Yeah, I just think Moiraine is just going to put her fucking life on the line. And they're literally in the prison of the Dark One. They're about to be.
That's where they're going. Just want to make that distinction. Moiraine honestly kind of agrees with her, she cuts to the chase a little bit and is like, hey, we're taking these ways, which are, as Loial explains, ancient pathways outside of space and time, which I like, because this is the quickest way to the eye of the world where the Dark One's prison is. And she says, I quote, one of you will finish the job you started in a previous life.
Yo, or all of you, because many had a dragon.
But Rand says, like, oh, you don't know who the fucking dragon is yet? What the hell? And then also you get some zooms onto Mat. He is starting to look scared at this like doom prophecy that Moiraine starts to laying out, saying, if this doesn't happen and we turn back right now, the whole world is going to be destroyed by Trollocs. Darkness is going to overtake. The Dark One's going to release, and everyone's dead. So, and it does spend some time on the second rewatch. I noticed like showing Mat's face a bunch of times. Like he's like, oh.
As she pulls up the ways, he's even yelling, like, is it too late to turn back?
Yeah.
And he actually does, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I guess he's just like, I'm not going in there.
Yeah. Moiraine actually responds to that saying, you know, there is no turning back. Whatever happens from now on is beyond our control. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
Yeah. Her iconic line.
I've heard that so many times from Kyle before the show even started.
I was watching the scene for the first time when I was taking notes, and she was kind of silent a little bit. It zooms in on her face, and I was literally writing out, this is a perfect time to say the wheel weaves as the wheel wills, but they're not going to do it. Like, I'm pissed. And then she said it, and I was like, oh, I'm a cuck.
You got it.
Dude, the ways is so freaking cool. Paul, I can't believe we didn't say this in the instant reaction. How is it not just exactly what is in Shadow and Bone? It's just that.
Paul went the Bleach angle on the instant reaction.
Shadow and Bone? You mean like the fold?
Yeah, exactly. It looks so much like the fold. Like there's lightning in there.
Yeah.
It's like darkness. There's
Stalagmites
Stalagmites
are on the bottom.
Okay.
Stalactites because they hang tight to the
I
ceiling.
knew you knew because of Jimmy Neutron or some shit.
That's exactly what it is. Stalactites are from the top because they hang tight to the ceiling.
We've had this conversation. That's why I looked right at Dave. I knew he was going to correct me, so I just let him finish. But it just looks epic, man. And the lightning going is just so cool and just raising the danger levels. You know, what the fuck's in there? We'll find out.
It is super dark. And the lightning, it's like, all right, where is this like they kind of went into the details of it and then kind of got pulled back by Moiraine summarizing as it's the quickest way to the eye of the world. Loial was even saying, like, you know, one step in the ways is, and then he kind of got cut off. But what was he going to say? Like,
well,
100 mile.
He does say a specific amount because he said it's kind of unknown about like the nature of the ways, but like you could travel a couple miles and it will be 100 miles. He doesn't like specifically say hundreds of miles.
I like it. Like I don't know if it's like a tunnel in between space or whatever.
Yeah,
a way to like a wormhole to jump from.
That's
here
how
to
I
there.
mentally think about it a little bit.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it makes me think of Bleach. I said it before.
That's the only thing I think of when I see this thing is like, this is just going to be the Bleach.
And does time flow the same in the ways as out of the ways? Is that going to...
I feel like that would have been mentioned before going in. So I'm going to say no.
I mean, it was in the sense that he says Loial this is, that's outside of time and space.
Okay.
So there's something funky going on.
Just to end the scene, and then we can talk about whatever the fuck we want, is obviously we've been hinting at it the whole time. The whole squad walks in slowly, and then they turn around as the gate's about to close, and Mat hasn't moved. And then all of Emond's Field 5 start freaking out. And then like
Emond's Field 4.
I mean, the two things I noticed the most is Rand starts losing his mind. Like, I love how much he rides for Mat still. And you could just see it on his face. He's devastated that his boy's not coming with him. And then Moraine's face is like, what the fuck? I'm dealing with more shit now. Like, I have more stuff on my plate. And then it just kind of closes and does the final flash of lightning onto her face and then scene.
Rand's face, to go for what you were saying, it almost seemed like he felt betrayed. He was like, yo, Mat, I stuck around you this whole time while you were sick, traveled with you for this month, and then you just kind of dip out last second.
It was Mat's idea to go to the White Tower because Rand the whole time was saying, let's just go home.
No, the opposite.
Oh, it was the opposite. Yikes.
Yeah. But the fact that it's the opposite makes it more logical or more likely, more believable. Jesus, that's the word I was actually looking for. That Mat wouldn't go.
Right.
And so this is probably this final scene is what's making the internet go on fire, right? There has not been a more polarizing episode from book readers to non yet. I don't think, at least based on my discourse that I'm seeing on different social media platforms. But the two things that happen in this scene that we're going to see, we're going to cross our fingers and hope the best that it works out, is obviously One is Mat not going in because he's supposed to go, I think. And I think it's okay to say that in the books. Like, he's supposed to go. We're going to find out what the fuck happens. I doubt he's not going to go. So, this could be related to the behind the scenes things with this actor, because apparently there were a lot of episodes 7 and 8 reshoots that this actor did not go to. So that could also be connected to why they made this decision. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up that pissing a lot of people off is the way that we open the Waygate. And me and Kyle were hammered last night, just going over talking about this, getting into details about what it's supposed to look like. And it would have really gone a long way if it was Loial was the one that opened it, rather than Moiraine just like channeling how like she did.
Yeah, I don't love the way they're doing the Waygate. I think it's part of it obviously is because it needs to be on TV. In the books, it's like some little door that's in the middle of like a basement of some random building, because like it was there because it's been there for thousands of years, and they built a city kind of like over it and around it because no one knew what it was. And it just like you take this like little leaf, like a key kind of, and put it in there, and then it opens.
It's way more similar to Diagon Alley than it is what we just saw there.
People are upset that the show has kind of made it seem like only people who can channel can use the ways, when in reality they were built for the Ogier, so Ogier can't channel. So how would they use it if only channelers can open it? I read something that is now my headcanon, so shout out to this random person on Reddit, that it easily could just be that the one that's closest to Tar Valon was locked by like with the one power, so you could only open it rather with the one power, and that other ones around the world aren't actually like that. That makes sense to me,
because it is canon that they're like in the books, at least, that there is a Waygate right near Tar Valon that gets brought in, but it's not the one that they use in this context. But
it's just so weird that the surrounding and the environment that they had the Waygate in, they just switched it and polarized it so much.
Sounds like a book reader issue, to be honest. I had no issue.
100%.
Yeah, because I was like, as a viewer, none of that bothered me. I mean, it makes sense that someone magical would need to be able to use this magical transportation.
Yeah, it's just the fact that it was built for people who can't do that. So that doesn't that doesn't really match. But I really think it's going to end up being that one is just unique in that way. They did actually give a little bit of a shout out to the leaf thing that I mentioned. The weaves that Moiraine, that Moiraine makes in the air, like look like a leaf.
Yeah.
Was it like the 3-pointed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I did see that, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that was, I think, a little bit of a nod to it. I don't know. Part of me just doesn't also love that it's like just on this hill with like no trees around. It's just an open field, but I'm over that. So Mat is the less fun conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
I really think it's that he's not even in episode 7 and 8.
That's what I'm saying. It could have been because they did a lot of reshoots for episode 7 and 8, and they could have done it around the idea that, forget his name, Barney or something like that.
Yeah, Barney
is not going to be in it, and maybe they worked its way through.
Yeah, because it was like, I think they had filmed up to episode 6, then COVID shut everything down, so they had to, like, when they started again on filming episode 7 and 8, Barney was not there as Mat. So people had commented there was like some weird editing at the end, because that's the scene when it was originally shot wasn't actually Mat not going, and then they had to change everything.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I swear, if it is like the beginning of episode 7 is Mat kind of jumping through the gate last second,
no,
and they just did this to give us like make us sit on our edge of our seats for a week, I'll be so pissed off.
No,
I really hope they don't do that. I don't think they will.
No.
And like him jumping through the gate changes his face.
They
changes his actors.
They have options to keep things fairly similar to what happened in the books that I hope that they do. Just gonna be interesting how the season ends.
I mean, if I had to rate this episode, I would give it 8.5. Is that what I said on the instant reaction? An 8.5 out of 10.
You said 9.
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I did enjoy it a lot. There was a lot of questions answered. Also, it shows like a little bit of the different hierarchies kind of within the Aes Sedai. At the same time, the Ajahs are against each other. I liked it a lot, but I'd give it a 9, just because I like it a lot. But
I'm gonna give it the second highest rating possible. Well, I guess third.
I'll give it an 8.5. It's the same as I gave it on the instant reaction. Not much changed. Still a great episode. Loved it overall. Just think the last 2 episodes I'm going to save those 9s and 10s for.
I think that I'm at an 8.5 now. I think after watching it again and going through everything, I think I was just kind of high on life after watching it initially. It's still like an amazing episode. It's really good. I think it's 1 or 2 in terms of episode rankings for me. But I think an 8.5 is a very fair rating. So that's what I'll give it.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say. I think you summed it up pretty well. I was the opposite. Like I started, it was fine. It was good. I really liked the episode. I would have put it, I think, second or third is what I said on instant reaction. Actually bumped it up a tiny bit. So I think I might have said 8, and now I would say 8.5. It's not the best one because I still am on the episode 4 team. But I agree, 6 and 7 or 7 and 8 are going to be the best thing ever. And this is just a stepping stone into the final climax.
All right, Dave. Who is the Dragon Reborn?
Dragon Reborn, I'm going to stick with Nynaeve. Said it earlier, open to the idea of it being all 5 of them, or if it's, Egwene or Rand or Mat, open to that idea too. But
It's not Perrin.
I don't know. I really think it could be any one of them still, but I'm going to just ride that Nynaeve train. I mean, after episode 4, the literal episode title was named Dragon Reborn. And then at the end, we get Nynaeve doing that really awesome shot of her using the one power. So still sticking by it's her.
Who do you think is least likely? And the all 5 theory doesn't count there.
Least likely, I'm going to go with Egwene. I think I'm still stuck on my mind that she's just going to she's just going to become an Aes Sedai, potentially maybe even become the Amyrlin seat. And I don't think that'll be tied into a Dragon Reborn's responsibilities. So I think I see her more as an Aes Sedai rather than a Dragon Reborn.
Paul's face was disgusted with that answer.
Wayne's the least likely?
I don't know why I have it so stuck in my head that I think it's literally probably just because she's like the only girl of the,
Nynaeve, you picked Nynaeve.
yeah. But
She's not a girl.
But she's a little different in the sense that she's older and like they're still not even even Moiraine isn't even sure if she should still be considered a potential DR. So I don't know why I'm so bent on Egwene becoming an Aes Sedai. I just really think she has a lot of respect for Moiraine, and now she has a lot of respect for Siuan too after that interaction with her. So that's where my mind's at. So least likely is Egwene. Most likely for me is Nynaeve.
Paulie Walnuts.
I'm gonna go Dragon Reborn is Nynaeve, Egwene, and Rand and Mat. And Perrin goes and kicks rocks by himself with his wolf curse. Not curse.
So you're saying Perrin's the least likely?
Yes, Perrin is the least likely for me just because he has a whole wolf thing going on.
Yeah.
Could 100% be flipped and be the other way, and he's the most likely. Whatever. Secondary theory, I'm going to say Egwene and Nynaeve are the Dragon Reborn, and Rand and Perrin become their warders.
Okay. So you're agreeing with the potential for there to be a multi-headed dragon, but you're not down with 5.
Yeah, I feel like we got to cut some.
Okay.
Not everybody can make it.
I want this on paper too, that I think my second option behind it being just Nynaeve, I think my option would be it being all 5 of them, but Nynaeve being quote unquote the main head. Let's say like the other 4 would be for support, but it would still be the Dragon Reborn as a collective 5, but I think Nynaeve would be the leader of that Dragon Reborn group.
Would be interesting if there was many headed and each person represented a different power. Like Nynaeve is already the healing. Perrin is like the attack or whatever.
I can't wait till we get the
Rand
answer.
is in defense or something.
That would be interesting. I mean, like they could each potentially maybe that's
Rand's a sniper because he's a bow and arrow.
Okay. So I will go. I think that sticking with Loial is the Dragon Reborn. Nothing in this episode told me otherwise. If anything, he increased because of how much respect everyone has for him. The DR will need that. My least likely is going to be Liandrin.
Most likely, probably going Megan because she's trying to get out of the tower, do some shit. Like who the fuck knows what's going on with her? And then least likely,
Swan's dad.
the multi-headed dragon. Fuck that.
Kyle said that's not possible.
Yeah, I don't care. Fuck that.
So Swan's dad.
All right,
Yes.
our final segment, a little bang kill Mary for the folks out there. Our 3 options today are going to be Lyanna, Alanna, and Siuan. Those are going to be the 3.
And let's say their titles.
Yeah, you say those titles.
Kyle, say their titles.
Oh, okay. Now I was like, wait, what do you mean titles? I thought you meant like the Sedai, but what? Lyanna's the Keeper of the Chronicles. There's a lot of titles for Siuan Sanche, but she's the Amyrlin seat.
Flame of Tar
No, she's
Valon.
clever as a pike. That's her title. Not the
Strong as the
Amazon
tides.
Strong as the tides, yeah.
Alana, keeper of the titties.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, I'm upset that she gets to keep them to herself, so I'll go first and say
Well-
I'm going to bang Alana because wow, wee, I don't think I could be married to her because of the green Ajah warder situation.
Mhm.
I don't think I would be able to share her like that in marriage.
Be polyamorous, definitely.
But I think a one night of me, her two warders, and her, can we count them as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Have to.
if it's in the, at least in the banging, yeah, I think you'd have to because
Okay,
it's
bet.
marriage or banging.
All
Yeah, I
right,
think
so
you
the
have
four of
to.
us will get down. I'm going to marry Liana Sedai because I
Wow.
fuck with her hard.
Wow.
I really like her. I think that her character has just been what little she's been given is great.
Siuan.
And I guess it'll end up with me killing the Amyrlin seat to then make room for my wife Liana Sedai to become the new Amyrlin seat. So that's what I'm thinking.
I'll go second. I'm gonna actually agree with Kyle that I'm going to kill Siuan because see, this is a double-edged sword. If I bang or marry Siuan, Moiraine's gonna be pissed at me. If I kill Siuan, Moiraine's gonna be pissed at me.
And if you marry Siuan, Moiraine's gonna be pissed at you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna kill Siuan.
With that logic, killer.
Moiraine's gonna be pissed at me no matter what. So I'm gonna kill her. And then I am going to actually, I think I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna marry her. I'm gonna marry Alana,
Alana, there you go.
because I mean,
Boobs.
oh, dude, the deep V, the scoop neck, dude.
The scoop
The
neck.
scoop neck, yeah, it just gets me every time.
The scoop neck had me sweating bullets, bro. I was fighting for my life watching this episode.
And then I will just be perma bottom as I bang Liana.
Liana.
Dude,
Liana.
these names are so similar.
Alana and Liana get me
Okay,
so mixed up.
Liana.
Because it's not Leanne. That's why it's getting you messed
Yeah.
up.
Liana, I will be perma bottom as she destroys me.
Hell yeah, brother.
All right, for me, obviously gonna marry Siuan. That's just the definite.
Wait, obviously, like Kyle and Paul both killed her.
Yeah, just obviously marry her because she's so strong, will just keep me safe forever. She's obviously very loyal to her favorites, and that's very attractive to me. So do that. Bang Alana because for obvious reasons that we don't need to go in depth for anymore.
You can if you want.
Take old biddies.
Okay. Fair enough.
And then we will kill Liana because fuck her life, Bing Bong. Don't know what she's about.
All right, so I am going to bang Liana because that was the default, and I'm going to explain my reasoning for the other two, and that was what was left. I'm definitely going to kill the Amyrlin seat, but there's a thought process behind this.
Gang,
Okay.
gang.
And I'm also
gang.
going to marry Alana, of course. Alana is the hottest, and she's the one I'm marrying anyway. That was the first choice. I'm going to kill the Amyrlin seat for two reasons. One, it's going to throw the White Tower into chaos, so they're going to be needing a new ruler, right? And two, it's going to make Moiraine single. So I'm going to implement a new idea that we're going to do a reverse warder situation where now guys get to marry multiple Aes Sedai, and now Moraine's single because I killed the Amyrlin seat, and I'm married to Alana, so I get both of them.
Wow.
Interesting thought process.
You're gonna
We'll
deal with
allow it.
Lan?
We'll allow it.
You gonna deal with Lan? We gotta kill Lan to get Moiraine single for you.
Shit.
Nah, he's Eiffel Tower.
Ooh, Lan booty. I already saw it.
Bring a little bit of France to the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
I think that's it.
Boom.
That's all she wrote. Episode 6, The Flame of Tar Valon, deep dive done and dusted. We recapped. Actually, we went scene by scene that time, which is kind of funny because we tried not to do that. But this episode, I feel like, was fine for that. We got our DR predictions. We got our Bang Kill Marry out of the way. So if you like what you heard, and we hope you did, shoot us a follow at BingetownTV on Twitter and Instagram. Like we've mentioned, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/BingetownTV. We have a website, bingetowntv.com. So check out all of that fun stuff. We love to interact with everyone. So if you like what you're hearing, send us a tweet, maybe DM us on Instagram. I don't know. We like to chat about Wheel Time, obviously.
Comment on YouTube, man. We love it.
Yes, also comment on YouTube because those are probably the funnest at the moment. Bang, bang.
On your knees.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.